Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Happy Friday, Nashville, and we are joined, as we are every Friday, by Max Herz. He is on the road in Raleigh, I believe, Max.
Hi, guys. Yeah. Good morning from North Carolina,
There
where
you
it
go.
is much colder and drearier than it was yesterday when we were in Florida.
Yes, you've rejoined us in the 30-degree temperatures, I'm sure. Uh, how was Florida though? A big win last night for the Preds.
Yeah, it was honestly a perfect couple days. Just getting out there. Temperature was 80 degrees, hanging out in Fort Lauderdale, and then one of the Preds' best performances of the season. They
Right.
stuck with it. They came back, tied it up late against the defending Cup champions who are trying to turn their season around, and I thought played really well last night. Preds tied it up. UC Saros was incredible, and they won it in overtime. And a dislodged net in OT went the right direction this time around.
Yeah, where have we seen that before? The Preds on what was a very borderline, quote unquote, imminent scoring chance against the Wild a couple of weeks ago. The one last night was pretty obvious. Steven Stamkos was ready to bury that one, whether the net was on or off. And a big win. Preds have now won 4 out of 5, Max. It does seem like things are starting to trend in the right direction for this team.
Yeah, and they've won 3 straight road games too, which some of the road games early in the season just never even got within arm's reach. So for these road games to not just be close, but to be wins is one tangible sign of real progress. And I think they've shown a lot of signs of progress. I think the top line has really produced. Whoever's with Ryan O'Reilly has been the hotter wingers this season, which is not surprising. But right now it's Luke Evangelista and Steven Stamkos, and those guys have been good. The decor has been solid. Saros has been incredible. So they may be starting to turn a corner here a little bit, and you can't really argue with 4 out of the last 5.
Right. And you can look back, not that every game is different, but just, excuse me, a couple of weeks ago, the Panthers came in here and won 8-3, correct? So, you can see that things are starting to look better for this Preds team going on the road, battling in a tight one. That save early from UC Saros, denying Carter Verhaeghe was incredible. Verhaeghe was able to bury one later on, but the Preds battle, they get it to overtime and they win the game. I was actually at the game on Tuesday, Max, my first in-person Preds game of the year. And I was saying it earlier this week that I finally got to see a Preds win. I was winless going to Preds games in my career and finally got to see one. Unbelievable performance. 5 goals in that game. The Preds look great.
Yeah, that one was much needed. That was kind of a big release for the Preds to win a game by that much and not have to sweat any of it. And there were so many great milestones in that game. Reed Schaefer gets his first NHL goal. Ozzy Weisblack gets his first NHL goal. Steven Stamkos gets his 1,200th career point. So, I mean, there were just milestones and party favors going around all over the place after that game. And the Flames are really, really bad. But when you're trying to prove that you're not next to those teams at the bottom of the standings, you don't belong there, you need to destroy teams like that. So I thought the Preds did well to handle that game, and they were able to ride into Florida. And like things are happening. Like they're playing entertaining games. They're scoring goals. They're
Right.
creating chances. They're playing great defense. The goalie's been strong. So they're doing the things that need to happen for them to get better along the way this year.
And we talk about Steven Stamkos. Of course, that was the marquee move that the Preds made last offseason to bring him in. And you're starting to see him continue to get more consistent and scoring goals in different ways. And I thought it was cool on Tuesday night to be able to see that graphic of 1,200 points from Steven Stamkos. Of course, almost all of them came with the Tampa Bay Lightning, a large majority. But to get to see that inside Bridgestone Arena for one of the legends of the game was really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. And when the team's playing well, you can really savor those type of things and appreciate the fact that Steven Stamkos is in a Preds uniform and he's got goals in 4 of his last 5 games. Like it's happening. He's turning it on. He's one behind Philip Forsberg for the team league right now with 8 goals. He's got 1,201 career points. He's moving up the goals list again. It took him a little while to get going this year, but he's getting ready to get towards 600. He has 590 career regular season goals. He's 11 behind Yari Curry for 21st all time. He passed 8 different guys on the list last year. Once he gets to Curry, he can start passing some more guys after a little bit of a gap between 580 and 600. So the milestones are there for the taking. And as long as Steven Stamkos can generate some offense and put pucks in the net, whether the net is on the moorings or off, like it was in overtime last night, it's going to be fun times for the Preds. And they're probably not going to score 5 goals a night, but if they can win 3-2, 2-1 like they did last night, and Stamkos can contribute a goal, those goals are going to make a big difference.
For sure. And it's been great to see Stamkos start to come through in those big moments for the Preds, again, who have now won 4 out of 5. And there's still a long way to go for this team to get back into a playoff hunt. And there's still a long way to go in the season. It's still early. Does the way they're winning right now feel sustainable and maybe not just a hot stretch, but something that they can build off of as we head into the holiday season into December and then towards the Olympic break?
Well, it's interesting. I think it's been clear that the team knows they need to win tight, low-scoring games in order to be competitive this year. But then last week, they came out on the road trip on both ends of Thanksgiving in Detroit and Chicago, and the offense exploded. They won 6-3 in Detroit. One of those goals was an empty netter. And then they won 4-3 in Chicago. And the third period of that game in Detroit last Wednesday night was their highest scoring game of the season,
right,
in one period with 5 goals. So I think there's little trickle down happening to the offense. And I guess you could call it regression with how little they were able to score and how much better they deserved at the beginning of the season with some of the chances they generated. I think the thing, though, that's going to be the difference maker in order to get them to 4 goals a night instead of 2 or 3 is the power play. And last night was such a weird special teams game. There were so many penalties in that game.
It was 11 total penalties?
Yeah, well, including matching minors, they called 13 in the game.
Wow.
And the Preds were 6 for 6 on the PK, including a big 4-minute kill in the second period, which really ensured that they had a chance to come back and get that game. UC Saros made 7 saves in those 4 minutes, including some really, really high danger chances.
Yep.
And the Preds power play was also over. And I think the Preds PK was the reason the Panthers didn't score. The Preds do have to figure out the power play. The first unit, the guys who are supposed to be the first unit, have gotten passed by the second unit. First unit is just not generating anything. And that's going to have to be the thing that takes them from, like I said, 2 or 3 goals a night to 4 goals a night, which really the baseline, that's what you need to win in the NHL. And the Preds have found ways to win lower scoring games, which you can credit them for because they've engineered the system to that style a little bit this season. But I think they've proven in the last 5 games that they can win both ways when things go right on offense.
Right. You mentioned 5 goals in one period against the Red Wings to put up 6 for that game. Preds put up 5 on Tuesday against Calgary. So you're starting to see the floodgates open up a little bit. But yes, you would like to see more on the power play, especially, again, it's surface level, but the names you have on that supposed top power play unit, you would think they'd be more productive, and they just haven't been. That could be the key to keeping this going. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have any questions for Max, would love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Max, Matthew in Nashville asks, be honest, how nice did it feel to be on the right side of the Minnesota game last night? It felt like hockey justice was delivered.
Well, yeah, the moment the net goes off, it's like, are they going to find a way to take this away from us? It's that kind of dread.
Right.
But I think that was a much more obvious call than the one that went against the Preds in Minnesota last month. So I think they got it right. The puck also did go in the net, which helps.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, there have been some weird calls. The officiating has been all over the place and not really in a good way. There was a call last night where the Preds thought they had scored, crashing the net with that second power play unit. Eric Haula thought he scored. Apparently, the puck never went in. You can't tell for sure because it's under Sergei Bobrovsky.
Right.
But the referee is right on top of the net, and he never makes a call. He never blows the whistle. He never washes the whole play out. And it's obvious he didn't call a goal, but they never say anything, and they go straight to review, and then they say, after review, the call on the ice of no goal is confirmed. well, you should tell us the call on the ice before you start the review.
Right.
And then, of course, in overtime, they do it properly and announce the call on the ice. Seems like when the calls go against the Preds, they don't give us any information. So that part of it is frustrating. And I mean, Tuesday night, this didn't end up mattering because they scored 5 goals. But when the game was still 2-0, there was a linesman who called an offside right in front of him on a keep in by Spencer Stastny
Yep.
that was not even close to coming out. It was totally, completely over the blue line and still in the zone. And Stastny just in the shot of his keep in threw it on net and scored.
Right.
And it was called offside. So like, yeah, I mean, this is the league, but hey, they didn't take that one away.
Right. And at the very least, both those games ended in wins, maybe with some inconsistencies in the officiating. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Again, if you have questions for Max, we will get to those throughout this whole first hour. Max Herz with us talking Predators hockey. They are in Raleigh taking on the Carolina Hurricanes tomorrow night. 615-737-1025 off and running on this Friday. Jake Lyman, Max Herz, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. DVD with Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circa Sportsbook Kentucky in the Mint Gaming Hall this Monday prior to the Monday Night Football game. This week's matchup is the Eagles and the Chargers. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly here in Nashville. Max Herz from Preds Radio joining us for the first hour of the show. He is in Raleigh as the Preds get ready to take on the Carolina Hurricanes tomorrow. And Max, we went through the 2 wins earlier this week, and on Tuesday we mentioned Reed Schaefer, Ozzie Weisblatt, both scoring their first career goals. And special for both those guys. I know the Schaefer family was in attendance to see that, and of course for Ozzie, a special moment for him heading back to the bench with his brother who passed away. So obviously a very emotional night for both of those guys, and cool to see them finally get one in the back of the net.
Yeah, isn't it pretty crazy, Jake, that this had happened 4 times before for the Preds? I thought maybe it had never happened. 2 guys scoring their first NHL goal in the same game for a 27-year-old franchise has happened 5 times. That's way more than you'd expect, right?
Right. Yeah. That's one of those things you think it's kind of once in a lifetime thing of two guys on the same night. Because obviously it's rare, Ozzie Weisblatt wasn't making his debut or anything like that. But for it to happen for both of them in the same night was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I asked Andrew Brunette if he had ever been part of any game, and he's been in the NHL for 25 plus years, almost 30 years at this point, as a player, an assistant coach, a head coach, and in front offices. And he said he couldn't remember one. So it's really crazy that the Preds have had 5, and it's some names we know too. I think the funniest one was the most recent one before this week, January 9th, 2020 in Chicago, which is a game that is already going to jump to the front of Preds fans' minds once you hear the date and the opponent. Colin Blackwell scored his first NHL goal, and so did Pekka Rinne.
Wow. That's so, man, did he only score 1 in his career?
Pekka?
Yeah.
One and only 1, but I think he was satisfied with 1.
Yeah, I mean, most goalies I would think never get to score a goal in their career. So there you go. Pekka, that's another crazy stat that Colin Blackwell can say that he shared his first NHL career goal with Pekka Rinne.
Yeah. It's I don't know, it's cool. Yeah, these guys are linked now. And 2014, Colton Sissons and Calle Jarnkrok, 2 Preds who were coming up and became a part of that cup run and are still in the NHL. 2008, Patrick Hornquist, a beloved Pred, and Ryan Jones. And then 2004, Simone Gamache and Andrew Hutchinson. So those are, now 10 of our 242 Preds goal scorers all time. Did it in Paris.
There you go. Did it on the same night. Reed Schaefer, Ozzie Weisblatt, both with their first career goal against the Flames on Tuesday. Speaking of some of the young guys, Max, wanted to just get a status update on some of these guys. We've talked a lot about Matt Wood this year, who he has gotten off to a great start to his career with the Predators. But then some of the other, maybe a little more established guys on this team, Luke Evangelista, Fedor Svechkov, how have those guys started to develop as the season has gone along?
I think the last couple of weeks they've both been better. Evangelista definitely better. He didn't end up with a point last night, so his career best point streak ended at 5 games. But it's now been 5 games on the top line with Ryan O'Reilly and Steven Stamkos for Evangelista, and he's been much better. He's always been good when he's been with O'Reilly. I think that's been a separating factor for him over the last couple of years, and he doesn't always get those top line minutes, but when he does, he's able to work well with O'Reilly. Good puck support, good in tight spaces, good passing, good going to the net front. And those guys have scored goals at the net mouth. And none of the Preds forward lines had been doing that this season. So that combination is sticking together, if nothing else, because of that. But they score off the rush. They create chances in different ways. And Evangelista has been in the middle of all of it. So he leads the team in assists and is 1 point behind Ryan O'Reilly for the team lead. Or that was going into last night. He's now a couple behind him, but he also is +4, which leads the team. So both the basic stats and the fancy stats point to the fact that Luke Evangelista has been much better recently. And Svechkov is coming along. He still has his moments, which has been good. He has been playing with fellow young guys. He's been playing with Schaefer, and Matt Wood was with them last night. And They seem to think that that helps Svechkov to have a little more freedom, not be deferring to somebody like Stamkos on his line. But that line still gets solid minutes. So in a game where there was so much penalty killing, Svechkov still had 15 even strength shifts last night. So I think he's been better. It's clear they're going to give him a long leash, which is really their only option, but also I think a good move because you got to let him establish himself. You don't want to kill his confidence, even though he could have gone to the AHL without waivers at any point this year. They're going to stick with Svechkov and let him figure it out up here. And there's a lot of coaching going on with him, and they're going to get him there.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they are giving him a chance to work out some of the kinks at the NHL level because he did show a lot of flashes last year and, got off to a slow start this season, but it's good to see him starting to come along in the fourth line for the Predators. And you mentioned Luke Evangelista on the offensive end of the ice on the attack, but I saw a graph from Alex Doherty of the Tennessean as I was scrolling through X the other day, and it seems like Luke Evangelista is making a pretty big impact on the defensive end as well.
Yeah, I don't really know what these graphs mean, to
I
be
don't
honest
either,
with
but it
you. Like
seemed to be
I
good, right?
do, I know what they mean, but look, it's to me, it's different than baseball. And I know the forward thinking stats in baseball really show a lot that you can't always see by watching the game. I think in hockey, it's nice to see that those graphs seem to back up what I think from watching every shift of every game. And this is another case where that's true.
Right.
But I'd like to think that you can watch the game and pick those things out without having to look at a graph to see it. And I have no problem with advanced stats. But to me, like you see that he's playing well.
Right. I think the advanced stats you mentioned baseball and hockey I think would be similar of a lot of those advanced stats are just used to confirm what you're seeing with your eyes, right? Like uh you could have a baseball player who's hitting 190 but the advanced stats show that he has an expected batting average of 320 and like, oh yeah, he's hitting the ball hard. I feel like that's kind of similar in hockey of maybe the goals, the assists, the points, they aren't coming for these guys, but you can watch it and say, all right, I bet the advanced analytics are going to back up that he's playing pretty well out there.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the better team often doesn't win. So
Yeah.
it's very unpredictable, bounces decide games. As Hal Gill says, sometimes the most important stat is get it donativity. And he also made up a word last night on the radio broadcast. He was very jealous that I apparently made up a word along the way. And you can weigh in, Jake. I said that the game had been chancy, despite the fact that it was low scoring.
I like it.
But is that a word? I don't even know.
I
But
don't I don't know if it is, but I think it works. It's like that How I Met Your Mother episode where Barney's just making up a bunch of words. Visitivity,
yeah,
chancy. But I think that's perfect. Perfect way to describe a game where there's a lot going on, but they're just not putting the puck in the net.
yeah. Well, Hal got jealous that I made up a word and he didn't get to. So he came back with, and I wrote it down and I'm looking at it right now because I'm gonna mess it up if I don't say it right. He said that the game was burbluffigating.
See, that one might be a little bit of a stretch.
You know what? I think it actually described the game very aptly, and we actually
Burbluffigating.
in our travel and just our various events of the rest of the night, getting from Florida to Carolina, we did end up just experiencing some burbluffication along the way. So I think it's going to stick.
You might want to go get checked out by a doctor for that. I don't know exactly what that means, but burbluffigating. Well done from Hal Gill. 615-737-1025
The man
is
has a way with words, doesn't he?
yes, he does. That's why he gets paid the big bucks. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Again, if you have questions for Max, we will get to those coming up next. 615-737-1025. You can text or call our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll also look a little bit deeper on UC Saros' recent performance. He's been good out there. What the D pairs have looked like for the Preds, and looking ahead, game against the Hurricanes tomorrow night before returning home for 2 games inside Bridgestone Arena next week. Jake Lyman, Max Herz, Parker Kelly with you on this Friday morning. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Looking for a good spot to watch NFL games this Sunday? We'll come by Twin Peaks and Cool Springs, home of the 29-degree beer, and join 102.5 The Game for the pregame show before the Titans take on the Browns. The pregame show is brought to you by Parman Tractor and Equipment and Old National Bank. Jake Lyman and Parker Kelly here in Nashville. Max Herz joining us live from Raleigh, North Carolina. We've got him for another 30 minutes here talking Preds hockey, as the Preds have won 4 out of 5 games. We were talking before the break about Hal Gill's new word, burbluffigating, that he came up with. Wes from Hermitage on the text line says, Hal was so lit on the air the other night, and it was the greatest thing of all time. He can make up whatever words he wants.
Yes, and get the word right, please, Jake.
I know.
I've also gotten it wrong many times.
It's a tongue twister.
What's the word again?
Burbluffigating.
Bluffigating?
Yeah, see, it gets you a little bit.
The L kind of moves a little bit. The L can pair with any vowel in there. So I thought it was burbuffligating, but turns out it's burbluffigating, and Parker just went with blurbuffigating.
Yes.
So I think there's some variations.
Don't count on me on getting that word right.
Yeah, it depends on what part of the country you grew up in. It's kind of a regional dialect. So
right, like soda versus pop. It's burbluffigating somewhere and burbluffigating elsewhere. That'll be the word of the day here on Next Man Up is burbluffigating, and maybe we'll hear it again tomorrow on the radio broadcast as the Preds take on the Hurricanes. Max, we were talking about UC Saros, another great performance yesterday, and it's not always going to be perfect for a goaltender, and there was a little stretch there where it didn't look great. We talked about the Panthers game, 8 goals in that one, but UC Saros has looked like his old self, and that was an unbelievable performance yesterday to help the Preds get the win.
Yeah, that was his best game of the year last night, and since that pull against the Hurricanes, he got pulled in the second minute of the second period. He gave up 5 goals on 16 shots on home ice. Obviously, that's bad. And the next game he didn't start. Annunen started in Detroit, and they were eyeing the bounce back in Chicago, and he bounced back with a win, and now he's won 3 straight. And that game last night, that is a goalie steal. And it was really almost a goalie steal for both games, and that's why it was so burbuffligating for everybody, because it felt like that should have been a high-scoring game. But it was 2-1 in overtime. So Saros, absolutely the star of the game for the Preds, and afterwards they hand out the player of the game items, or the party favors, as I like to call them. First up, the oar for everybody has their paddles in and rowing together. And that went to Steven Stamkos. And then Stamkos gave the helmet to UC Saros and the entire penalty kill unit. And they took a very wholesome group picture with it in the locker room after the game to celebrate a successful 11 and a half minutes of penalty kill time. And I've actually, Jake, got some pretty crazy penalty kill minute stats from this game. 3 Preds last night set new career highs for most penalty kill ice time.
Wow.
Nick Hague beat his previous by an entire minute with 7 minutes and 54 seconds of shorthanded ice time last night. I thought Hague was really good last night. And when he's been good, he's been impactful for the Preds. He hasn't been that good every single game, but when he's been good, he's been what they wanted, a net front defensive defenseman. And I mean, it's still only been 19 games for him coming back from injury with a new team. Yeah. So it's good to see those bright spots, and things do take time, even for a player like that, who's just kind of acclimating to the system and not necessarily toward the offensive side of it. But I think Hague was really great last night. Eric Halla, who's been in the NHL for 13 years and done a ton of penalty killing, had never done as much penalty killing as he did last night. And Michael McCarron also set a new career high. And Brady Shea led the Preds with 8:08 shorthanded time. That was his second highest PK time in his 11-year career. So it was big minutes for those guys. And I think my favorite thing about the picture they took was that presumably someone told him to get in there. I don't think he went in there on his own. They did so much killing that Reed Schaefer, who was a penalty killer and a power play guy in Milwaukee, they just ran out of guys. And Blankenberg was in the box. So they were down a killer, and Blankenberg had been killing as a forward a lot these last few weeks. So they need another forward. So Schaefer and Svechkov went out there and killed together. And I have not seen Reed Schaefer have a single practice PK shift in the NHL. Not that there's too much to practice, but there's strategy and design to this, and he's seen it in film maybe,
Yeah.
but he hasn't done it. And that one shift did earn him a spot in the picture. I was happy to see he was in there. I want to know who said, Rook, get in there. You were on there for one shift.
I love that. I love that. No practice time at all, but sometimes you need a guy, the name of the show, Next Man Up. Reed Schaefer goes in there and comes through, gets himself in the picture. You mentioned Nick Hague, and I wanted to highlight the defensive pairings here, Max. It's been a little bit tough with all of the injuries. I mean, Nick Hague missing a lot of time to start the season. You had Roman Josi out for a while. Nick Perbix has been banged up, didn't play last night. What does that grouping look like as they've started to at least find a little bit of stability? And you've got that top pairing of Hague and Josi finally getting some ice time together at the top.
I think the most encouraging thing is that Josi has looked like his full self in the now 7 games since he got back. And again, that injury had nothing to do with what cost him the end of the season last year. It had nothing to do with Potts. It was a hockey injury. It was a physical injury, and he recovered from it. And I think he's been back, and I think he's been moving great. I think he's been shooting. I think he's been generating. I think he's been amazing defensively. And I think the pairs are looking good. I think there's a chance Perbix returns tomorrow. He's missed 2 games, and his play had dipped a little bit. So hearing that there was an injury was not a total shock. And if there is something that was bothering him, I'm glad they held him out for a little bit. And it gave Adam Wilsby a chance to come back in. And I thought Wilsby moved well last night too on the second pair with Brady Shea. So they have guys. I mean, they have options, and I think the decor has not been the problem really at any point this season other than an off night or an off period or two. And they've got this third pair with Spencer Stastny and Nick Blankenberg, the speed package that is sometimes their best pair, and sometimes they're the best pair by a mile. So they have guys who have really different abilities and skill sets, and I think the pairs are much better set than they were last season. And I think a lot of credit for that goes to Luke Richardson, who's in his first year on the coaching staff. He's the associate head coach. He was the head coach of the Blackhawks the last couple seasons, and he's just brought such stability to the defensemen. And he does a lot of active coaching. Like, think about it. He was a head coach of a young rebuilding team. Think about how much coaching had to go on moment in and moment out with the Blackhawks the last 3 years.
100%.
Now he's just coaching 7 guys. And yeah, he coaches everybody. He's on the bench, he's on the ice, but he's coaching the D, he's calling the D. And I think he has a narrow focus that has yielded really positive results for the Preds this season.
615-737-1025 is the phone number if you have questions for Max. We got one on the text line from Justin in Greenbrier. He says, Max, is the success from the Predators due to the lines finally figuring it out with the mix of talent, or is it just the puck luck has finally started to go the Preds' way?
I think it's both. And I think the top line coming together is the line that has meant the most. And I hate to say it, but we may not be able to see the line that I've liked second in line, which was Bunting, McCarron, and Weisblatt, since Weisblatt got hurt last night. So we will see if we get any information on that. The Preds are not practicing today, so we'll probably have to wait till the game tomorrow to know any timetable if Weisblatt is injured and missing that game tomorrow. But I love Bunting and Weisblatt together. It's been McCarron in the middle with them most of the time. When he missed a game, it was Jost in the middle. But all 3 of those guys just go to work down low, and they get the puck to the net. And puck luck happens when you get the puck to the net, and the puck has been in the slot, behind the net, near the crease, so much more for the Preds these last couple weeks. So I think to answer the question, Justin, both, and they're connected to each other. I hope that makes sense.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have any thoughts for Max, any questions, we will get to those coming up next. We'll also preview the game in Raleigh tomorrow night, Predators and Hurricanes. It's a 6 o'clock puck drop, 5 o'clock pregame right here on 102.5 The Game. This Sunday, the NFL Game of the Week is the Bengals and the Bills at noon on 102.5 The Game. The NFL Game of the Week is presented by Circa Sportsbook Kentucky and Massaro in 12 South. We got one more segment with Max. We'll get to it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Max Herz, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. This holiday season, 1025 The Game is looking out for the kiddos. We want to donate a bunch of stuffed toys to the Nashville Children's Alliance to be given to kids this holiday, but we can't do it without you. Join us at a Dunkin' location near your neighborhood the week of December 8th through the 12th to drop off a stuffed toy that a child will love. Find the Dunkin' locations that are participating at thegamenashville.com/toy. We would also like to thank the Metro Nashville Police Department, the Catalano Group, the Bluemont Group, Family Leisure, Thompson Machinery, Richmar Flores, Right Time HVAC, and Relodyne. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you here in our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning studios. Max Herz is in Raleigh. Preds and Hurricanes tomorrow night, 6 o'clock puck drop, 5 o'clock pregame right here on 1025. Again, any final questions you have for Max, we've got him for about 10 more minutes here. And Max, looking at this game against the Hurricanes, not going to be easy. This is a very good team. But can the Predators keep this thing going on the road again before coming back for 2 at home next week in Bridgestone Arena, taking on the Blues and the Avs?
It'll be a fun matchup. I feel like every time the Preds come to North Carolina, which is only once a year in the regular season, UC Saros has to make like 80 saves because that's just how the Hurricanes play. They shoot everything. They have the puck the entire game. And this happens against everybody, not just the Preds. So we'll see what this game looks like. The Hurricanes are one of the better teams in the league right now, record-wise. They're 16-8-2. They did get crushed at home by the Maple Leafs last night, 5-1. So we'll definitely be looking through what happened there. They, as usual, are having their goalie rotation. It's always Pyotr Kochetkov and Freddie Anderson who kind of split time, and then by playoff time, one of them gets picked. They also have a third guy this year named Brandon Bussey, who had never played in the NHL before this season. He actually played against the Preds in the preseason this year for the Panthers, and then got waived and claimed by the Hurricanes at the end of preseason. They really saw something in him, and they've been right. He's been exceptional. He has won, 3 starts in a row. And if you go back further, it's an even higher total than that. So he did not play last night, and they gave up 5 goals. So I imagine the Preds will see Bussey tomorrow, and we'll get to see him in the regular season for the first time. But, I mean, every time you come to Carolina, you got to just weather the hurricane storm. They shoot tons of pucks, but I think it's a game that's built for UC Saros to win, and we saw it here 3 seasons ago. He had 64 saves, which was one of the highest save totals in modern NHL history for a non-overtime game. So I think that's probably what you should expect against these guys. But I think with the mojo the Preds have right now, they can do enough to win a game like that.
Yeah, excited for that one. Chance for the Preds to keep this going. Again, they've won back-to-back games, 4 out of the last 5. Looking at the schedule, Max, it's kind of a strange little stretch here over the next 6 games, only playing 3 opponents, all home and away. So it's Carolina on the road, home games against Colorado and St. Louis. Then you go on the road to Colorado and St. Louis before getting the Hurricanes back at Bridgestone Arena. So going to get very familiar with those 3 squads over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I love it. And that just happened with the Panthers too. A home game last week and then a road game last night. So I actually really like stuff like that. I wish there would be even 2-game series, especially to help minimize travel. And it seems like the NHL doesn't really want to do that. But I love the 2 meetings in close quarters because it leads to fun games. It leads to division rivalry with the Avs and the Blues. And those are teams that the Preds want to establish a physical presence against. I mean, the Avs are one of the highest skilled teams in the league, and the Blues are near the Preds at the bottom of the Central Division. And those are games the Preds really want to win for positioning and to get themselves back closer to the playoff line. So I love, anything that can lead to more fights or physicality, I'm all in favor of. And we've had some fun moments with the Preds and some big hits and a few fights over the last few weeks. So keep them coming.
Yeah, going to be an exciting time here. Preds seem like they may have turned a corner. 1-4 out of their last 5. Again, facing off with the Hurricanes in Raleigh tomorrow night. It's a 6 o'clock puck drop, 5 o'clock pregame right here on 1025 The Game. Max, I would be remiss if we let you go without talking about your Vanderbilt Commodores. I know we spend most of the hour on Preds when you're on, but you are a proud Vanderbilt alum. Thoughts on everything going on with Vanderbilt football? Obviously, the disappointment of where they are in the current college football playoff rankings, but it's very possible a Heisman Trophy will be coming to West End within the next 2 weeks.
I need an update from you, actually, Jake. How close were we to this unscheduled game this week? Because I really wanted that to happen.
It seems like it was closer than you would have thought. Like Clark Lee saying that he had his players having their bags packed. I guess the game would have had to have been played in Hawaii or Alaska. That's like the rule is if you're going to play an unscheduled 13th game, it has to be outside the mainland U.S. So they would have gone on and played either Miami or Utah or something like that in Hawaii. Logistically, I guess it never was able to work out, but how fun would that would have been? Basically a showcase of, fine, you want to leave us out? How about you lead us out after we go play a game on 2 days' notice and go beat one of the other contenders for the playoff?
Do we know for sure that it would have had to be in Hawaii, or is that just from the message
Maybe
board
that's
geniuses?
just the message board geniuses thing. That's what I'm going through. But I don't know. Would they have been able to do it in Nashville? Like, how cool would have been to just schedule this game, have Miami come here, or maybe Vandy goes down there? I don't know, but that would have been unprecedented. And I don't know if you're the committee, how do you not put the winner of that game in? The fact that they're willing to do that alone should be a check in their column for their playoff case.
I think all sports now should just be like boxing, where you just challenge people and you do it on your own time.
No schedules, just
no schedules.
Notre Dame, we want to play you this weekend.
Yeah. I think that'd be great. But here's my actual, like, you can tell me if this is dumb or not. So the playoff should not have a set number of teams in it. The cut line should move based on how many teams deserve it.
I think
Do we think
fair.
That's reasonable?
Yeah, because I think last year there probably wasn't there probably weren't 12 teams that were worthy. Like SMU probably wasn't a playoff worthy team, but they were the last team in. At 11-1, they lost their conference championship game. This year, I think there are 15 teams that are playoff worthy, and 5 of them are going to get left out. I kind of agree with you. It would be nice if we could just say, all right, committee, you've got to pick a round number of like 8, 12, or 16, depending on how many teams are actually capable of winning a game in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, there are enough bowl games that it can just go as it goes. So I don't know. That's my uneducated idea. To be honest with you, I have not been following the rankings too closely this week. I just know that it seemed like Vandy had no chance from the jump from where they had been placed, which I think is dumb. But
yeah, and
we can take it.
This has been what I've been advocating for is stop doing the weekly releases, because the committee kind of backs themselves into a corner of, well, this is what we said we thought about this team, so we can't change it. The weekly releases don't allow them to take a holistic view of these teams' seasons, because they have to do everything based off what they released the week before. I think that would help out a lot if they just did maybe one midseason check-in. Here are our top 12 teams, and then at the end of the year, release the bracket.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know. It's it's a sham, right?
Yes, and it's disappointing that Vanderbilt will not be in the playoff. Most likely, again, the official bracket will be released on Sunday, but the Heisman ceremony coming up a week from tomorrow. You'll be in Colorado, so maybe just before that game against the Avs, there will be a Heisman Trophy coming back to Nashville.
Yeah. When do we find out the finalists?
I believe early this week. Parker, does that sound right? Like Monday, Tuesday, we'll get the finalists?
For the Heisman?
For the Heisman,
it should be on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, should be on Sunday.
I think ballots are due on Sunday. So yeah, Sunday or Monday, I think we'll get the Heisman finalists. So I would be stunned if Diego Pavia is at least not in New York.
Okay. And how many guys go to New York? I have the most basic questions about this, but
3 to 5.
It's not the same every year, right?
No, it's kind of like
3 and 5,
like what you were talking about with the playoff committee.
Yeah.
If they could change it, it's based on how many guys get close to a certain vote total. So it could be 3, it could be 5.
Okay. Well, I think Pavia is definitely in the top 5, right?
Right. I think he's going to be a Heisman finalist. It's just a matter of whether he wins. So exciting stuff on West End, and we'll find out where the team goes for the postseason coming up on Sunday as well. But the Predators are in Raleigh taking on the Hurricanes tomorrow, 6:00 puck drop. And we always appreciate Max Herz joining us. Great stuff, Max. We'll do it again next week.
Yeah, we're in ACC country. So
Yes.
who
Yes.
knows?
Down there on Tobacco Road. And back here in Nashville for 2 games at Bridgestone Arena next week, Tuesday and Thursday against the Avalanche and the Blues. We will talk to Max next Friday, and we'll be able to recap all 3 of those games. Max, thanks for taking some time. Good luck tomorrow night in North Carolina, and hopefully come back with another win.
Thanks, boys.
Max Herz from Preds Radio. Always great having Max on. When we come back, we'll get into some football. It is championship weekend across college football. We'll go through all of the big games, what chaos could unfold in the college football playoff rankings. Later on in the show, we'll talk Titans and Browns as well. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Second hour on this Friday. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Great stuff from Max Herz in our first hour talking Predators. Have Max on every Friday to give us an hour of Smashville talk. And man, they've won 4 out of 5. Starting to look better over there at Bridgestone Arena. They are on the road against the Hurricanes tomorrow night, and then 2 games back here in Nashville coming up next Tuesday and Thursday. Let's get into some football. It is a big weekend of football, especially on the college side. Conference championship weekend. And although it looks like a lot of the at-large bids for the college football playoff are locked up, the conference championship chaos is at an all-time high because of the ACC. I mean, Parker, I don't know if anyone could have guessed at the beginning of the year that Virginia and Duke would be playing for an ACC championship, and that if Duke wins, the ACC may get nobody into the playoff. That is the storyline. I know the SEC championship has a lot on the line too. Alabama, they are on the bubble. The committee has protected them a little bit, so they're likely going to be in even if they lose. Obviously, BYU needs to win to get into the playoff. Indiana, Ohio State's top 2 teams in the country. But the ACC, purely out of the possible chaos scenario that could come from a Duke win, is the one I'm locked in on the most this weekend. Because if Duke wins, you could see James Madison get into the college football playoff. You could possibly see UNLV or Boise State even get in if JMU was to lose in their conference championship. So there's a whole lot that could go down this weekend as we start to get closer to that 12-team playoff that'll be announced on Sunday.
Again, we don't have to like the way that this is all set up. We're just talking about the different possibilities here. But I think it's interesting because if you have a Duke winner in the ACC championship, I don't care what happens, a 5-loss team is not getting in the playoff.
Yeah.
So it makes me think, with the way this whole thing was designed, by the wording, the 5 highest ranked conference champions, we all assumed 99% of the time that the ACC winner would be included in that. We thought it would be Georgia Tech, Clemson, maybe even Miami. But if Duke wins and the potential of the ACC getting left out completely, does that bump in a Miami? Does the committee want to leave the ACC out? That's the question. And I've been thinking about that.
That's a fair point, because I think Miami still has a shot. Even though they don't play this weekend, I think they still have a shot, because there is a scenario if BYU loses that Notre Dame is the last team in. And I just don't see how you can leave Miami out for Notre Dame when Miami beat Notre Dame. And I heard Joe talking about this on Robbie and Rexroad this morning, that head-to-head is not everything, right? Like, you can't say that one team is a better college football playoff contender just because they beat them. Florida is not a better team than Texas, and so on and so forth. But it has to be a big data point when you're comparing these teams. If the committee is viewing those 2 losses by Miami as so bad to Louisville and SMU that they are disregarding the head-to-head result on the field against Notre Dame, then why is Miami above Vanderbilt, would be my question, right? Like, Vanderbilt's losses are against Alabama and Texas. So they clearly value Miami's resume enough to put them right on the bubble of the college football playoff. If it comes down to a position where Notre Dame is the last team in, Miami is the first team out, I don't know how they don't flip those and put the Hurricanes in.
It's head-to-head. Joe is partially right about this, but that Notre Dame win is still carrying a lot of water for Miami, or else they wouldn't be in this position. But what Miami needs to happen is BYU lose the Big 12, even get blown out. And then what you have happen is you have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You're taking the jelly out. You have the 2 pieces of bread, which are Notre Dame and Miami. Then that's when you factor in the head-to-head.
Right.
Because when the resumes are so comparable, head-to-head has to give the edge to Miami. That's reasonable, right?
Yeah, and the committee has said that as of now, they aren't comparing Notre Dame and Miami. That has been their reasoning, is that they are in different tiers based on their resumes. Fine, if that's how you want to say, if you think Notre Dame's resume is that significantly better than Miami, that you don't even have to compare them, fine. Their reasoning never makes sense, but if that's what you're going with, then I guess they can stick with it. But it's hard to stick with that reasoning if, let's say, Notre Dame is number 10 and Miami's number 11. It's like, how can you say you're not comparing these two teams when they are smack dab next to each other in the rankings? It doesn't seem to make sense. And I think you're right. There may be some pressure to not leave the ACC out completely. And if Duke was to win this weekend, you can't put a 5-loss Duke team into the playoff. I saw Manny Diaz went on some podcaster show this week and said the ACC champion will always be in the college football
Just
playoff.
Politics. That's what it is.
Sure, he has to say that, right? Like, he's not going to say, yeah, we might get left out if we win this game. But you lost 5 games this year. A 1-loss JMU team surely deserves that spot over a 5-loss Duke team. So James Madison, that game is tonight. So James Madison plays Troy in the Sun Belt Championship game. So they have an opportunity to put themselves as the team in waiting for the college football playoff. And then the Dukes are huge Duke fans tomorrow night when the Blue Devils and Cavaliers face off in Charlotte. It is something that has been talked about since the 12-team playoff began, of they don't specify what conferences get in. It's just the 5 highest conference champions. And I think there's always been jokes of like, oh, what if the Big 12 or the ACC has a conference champion that isn't ranked higher or isn't ranked at all? And we are seeing that possibly play out in real time. And, you know, again, selfishly, as someone who does not like the University of Virginia, I would love to see them basically have a cakewalk into the college football playoff and blow it against a 5-loss Duke team tomorrow night.
Could happen. I don't think Virginia, even if they were to win, I mean, I don't think they're one of the 12 most deserving.
Oh, not at all.
Because I watched this team squeak out wins versus Washington State, who James Madison also squeaked out a win against. So I don't think they're legit.
Ole Miss squeaked out a win against Washington State.
Right.
Too.
I mean, it's just you watch Virginia play. They're the cardiac Cavs for a reason. They had like 4 or 5 one-possession games in a row.
Yeah, the Florida State game, and
that's the reason they're here, because they beat Florida State when they were ranked. So,
well, the reason
they
they're
just kept
here
winning
is because their NC State loss didn't count as a conference
which is
game,
unbelievably
crazy.
stupid.
It's so funny. But you're right, and I think that's what's so frustrating this year is you've got 2 teams that are going to get in that. Sorry, you had a great season with the, whoever wins between Tulane and North Texas tonight, whoever wins or whoever gets in between Virginia and James Madison. All of you had great seasons, lots to be proud of, but you do not deserve to be in the college football playoff. And some years that's fine, right? Some years there aren't teams that deserve to get in. Like last year, Alabama was the first team out. They had 3 losses. There wasn't any complaints of like, well, Arizona State got in over Alabama. Well, Alabama lost 3 times. This year, though, it's a little frustrating, especially, with Vanderbilt being just outside of the equation here, that you're going to have 2 teams get in. Right now, the favorites would be Virginia and Tulane that are probably going to get blown out in the first round. And you've got teams like Miami and Vanderbilt sitting just on the outside who would put a much better game on the field. But I understand that's how this is formatted, and everybody agreed to these rules. But it is tough when you would get better games if you just let the 12 most deserving teams in, and you're going to get teams that are not playoff worthy teams getting to play in this 12-team bracket, depending on the results of the games tonight and tomorrow.
That's the frustrating thing. And then people are going to use the excuse of these teams getting left out to expand the playoff. Well, to be honest, Miami, they don't really deserve a playoff spot. They lost to SMU and Louisville. You could say the same thing for Notre Dame. You could say the same thing for a Texas. Don't lose the Florida game. Yeah. So I don't think that because these teams that are going to get left out are going to get their feelings hurt, that we should use that as an excuse to expand the playoff. I think it's fine with 12, and we all love the idea of having home games. I'd even love to see home games in the second round as well. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think there are things that we can tweak to make this a lot better, but I don't think we need to expand.
Yeah, I like the 12. I think it is a good setup of, hey, you're giving these top 4 teams buys, so the best teams are still getting the advantage, and it's not like you're throwing them in. You got to go play 4 games to go win a national championship. But it's going to go to 16, right? Like we know it's all about money. It always is all about money. And the SEC is going to complain after this. The ACC is going to complain after this. We're going to go to 16 teams. And this year, I think a 16-team bracket would be great because there are teams that are deserving to get in and have a chance to go play in a national championship tournament. But last year, is there going to be a group of 16 teams that you feel are really capable of playing in this tournament? Probably not, but that's what we're going to get. And you're going to have years where like a fourth Big Ten team of Iowa or something like that, who goes 9-3 is going to get into the college football playoff. And that's fine. Like more games. Great. I have no problem with it. Everybody's going to watch them, but there has to be a limit. And I really hope going to 16 doesn't mean eventually we're going to 24 and 32. There has to be a stop. And I think 16 is the maximum that it should go to.
And you know that when we go to 16, there are going to be some more teams, 17 and 18, that, oh, well, they should be in two. So then they would look to expand it to 20 and then 22, 24, however. So This is always going to be a thing. There's always going to be controversy. There was controversy with the 14 playoff. There was controversy with the BCS. No matter what happens, there's always going to be controversy, especially when you have humans that are making the decisions.
No, and the 14 playoff, I think, needed to expand. There were years where a team that was probably deserving of a chance to go play for a national championship didn't get that chance. I look back at Georgia a couple of years ago. They went undefeated, lost the conference championship game, and got left out. It's like going 12-1 should give you a chance to go play for a national championship. So expansion was necessary, but there is a line. And you're completely right that once we go to 16, teams 17 and 18 are going to have their feelings hurt, and those conferences are going to go to bat that we need to go to 20. And it's never going to stop. I would advocate that no matter how much you want to try and keep expanding, stop at 16, because there's never going to be more than 16 teams that deserve to compete for a national championship. Never may be a strong word. I'm sure there will be a year or two here and there, but for the most part, if you invite 16 teams in, no one is going to feel like they lost out on a shot to take home a national title at that point.
Yeah, and I mean, Ohio State is the example because they were the 8 seed.
Right.
Anybody that watched Ohio State all year knew that they were not. They were probably closer to the 6 or 5 range. But I mean, you have a team that was inside the top 8 that ended up turning into a Death Star and winning the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I would have been fine with a 6 or 8 team playoff. I wasn't on board with 12, but now that we have it, there's no going back.
Right.
So I think there are things that we can do to tweak it to make it better. And honestly, I'd love to see, because to me, somebody who values the Rose Bowl, seeing an Ohio State Oregon matchup in the Rose Bowl in the quarterfinals just didn't sit right with me. So I'd love to see home games in the second round and then have the Rose Bowl for, save it for a team like Vanderbilt, who is 10-2. And that way that they can still play in a very meaningful bowl game, even if they're not in the playoff.
Sadly, the money is going to make that not a possibility, because they want the best matchups and they want people tuning in for the college football playoff. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will get to you coming up next. Our college football game of the week is number 2 Indiana versus number 1 Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game on 94.9 The Fan tomorrow at 7 p.m. Coverage is presented by Circa Sportsbook Kentucky and is also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. There is a possibility of a BYU win tomorrow, sending all of this into a complete tailspin. We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you, getting you set for championship weekend across college football. Lots of big games and lots of implications on the college football playoff. We'll get our bracket coming up on Sunday. Let's start by going to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Dr. Locke is on the line. Dr. Locke, thanks for calling. What you got for us this morning?
You know it, baby. Hey, I was calling in. Hey, first and foremost, good work with Vandy Athletics, Jake. I love it out there. I think I've gone to 2 or 3 men's games in Memorial Gym, and both the men's and the girls. They got a hell of a basketball team. So that's a good product that you're covering.
Yeah, it's been awesome for both teams. I mean, the men are putting up almost 100 points per game. They're 9-0. Women are 9-0. So excited for the rest of the year.
For sure. Now let's get to this. Let's get to the reason I called. We don't need to expand anything. I mean, all these teams. Just think about it. What team were you mentioning that could stay within 14 points of the Ohio State?
Yeah, Dr. Locke, I will let you know that if I would, be very surprised if Ohio State is not at least playing for a national championship this year. They are head and shoulders more talented than pretty much anybody else in the field.
I think it's going to clean itself up. But I don't even think we have to worry about it. I think the Texas Tech beat the BYU. The BYU drops out. It's just going to naturally kind of organically correct itself. Miami will take the BYU spot, or Georgia beats Alabama. Alabama has 3 losses, much to the SEC's chagrin. Miami takes that spot, or quite possibly, I didn't even think about it. You guys actually opened my eyes up. I didn't think about the ACC championship being a way-in.
Yeah, I mean, Virginia will get in if they win, but if Duke wins, the ACC could just completely get left out.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm a college football junkie. I didn't even look at that angle. That was good. You just done school Dr. Locke up on a little something there this weekend.
Appreciate you calling, Dr. Locke. Good stuff as always.
I'll be tuning into that game, and go Bucks.
There we go. Yeah, Buckeyes taking on Indiana tomorrow night in Indianapolis.
I've really started to enjoy his calls.
Dr. Locke is a fun caller when he calls in, and Mike on the text line just texted, "I bet you my life savings, which is about $240,000, that Vanderbilt would godly whop Ohio State." Not sure exactly what that means, but
what?
I guess that they'd beat them.
Oh my gosh.
I think every team in front of Vanderbilt, with the exception of Ohio State, probably would not want to see Vanderbilt right now. The way the Commodores are playing, I think Vandy could put a game on with almost everybody in front of them. But Ohio State, it's almost like they're in a different league, right? I mean, they've got Carnell Tate might be a top 5 wide receiver in this year's draft. Jeremiah Smith is almost certainly a top 5 wide receiver, a top 5 pick at wide receiver in
Bo Jackson 2.0.
Yeah, they've got Bo Jackson at running back. And then, of course, Arvell Reese and Caleb Downs on the other side. That Ohio State team is really good. Now, it's college football, and teams lose games they're not supposed to all the time, but I don't think Ohio State is going to be an underdog in any game they play the rest of the year.
No, they're a 4-point favorite versus the number 2 team in the country. So that tells you how big of a gap there is. Now, would I be surprised if Indiana won this weekend? 100%. Do I think Indiana can make it a game? Also, I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe Indiana will be within at least 10.
I have picked against Kurt Signetti and Indiana multiple times. Against Oregon, I thought they had no shot, and they went into Eugene, and they got a 10-point win over the Ducks. So I am not going to completely say I don't think Indiana can win, but it would surprise me. It really would, because I think Ohio State is playing they're just a way more talented team.
The Oregon win forced everyone to open their eyes to Indiana, because I'm sure we all thought, oh, same old Indiana. They're good. They'll win the games that, they're the cupcake games, but they won't win the challenging ones. And they went out and won one.
Yeah.
And then at the time, they beat a ranked Illinois team by 53 points. So, I mean,
No, I think the expectation was that Indiana was going to do the same thing they did last year. They'd go 11-1. They'd lose pretty convincingly against the one good team they played, which was Oregon. And they went in, they got a win in Autzen Stadium. So again,
not easy to do.
I think Ohio State's going to win, but Kurt Signetti has surprised me in the past, so we'll see what happens tomorrow night in Indianapolis. Let's go back to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Gary has been waiting patiently. Gary, thanks for calling. What you got?
Hey, I enjoy y'all's show. My question is just Vanderbilt got snubbed in the playoffs, so as Vanderbilt going to get snubbed with the all SEC team, what players do you think will make the all conference team? And all that's and I'm fine.
That is a good question, Gary. I would be surprised if Diego Pavia is not the first team all SEC quarterback, right? Like, I mean, he might win the Heisman. So, and Ty Simpson, Marcel Reed, they've had great seasons, but they've both kind of taken a step back in the last couple of weeks while Diego Pavia has elevated his game. I think Pavia is going to be the first team all conference quarterback. Stowers could end up being the first team tight end. I would be shocked if he's not at least second team.
Yeah, he probably is first.
Is it Oregon's tight end that's
Kenyon Sadiq?
Yeah, he's going to end up being
that dude's
player.
a freak. He's different.
But in the SEC, I think Stowers might be it.
I mean, if Pavia's in the Heisman finalist group,
yeah,
it would only be right. The only other person I could see being ahead of him is Ty Simpson. But again, Pavia's a Heisman finalist and Ty's not. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna say at least Pavia and Stowers will be on there, and you could make arguments for Cedric Alexander to get maybe an honorable mention or
is it Cade McConnell?
Some of the offensive linemen with the way that they've played on defense. I don't know if there's any. The defense plays more as like a unit like that.
Right.
There's nobody that I can really point out.
There aren't really standouts in the secondary.
Like Martell Heights made some plays. CJ Herz made some plays, but I don't know if you can
Langston
look at
Patterson.
Right. I think the all conference players are going to come on the offensive side of the ball. Thanks for the call, Gary. Let's see. On our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, Justin from Greenbrier says, the frustration with this college football committee is because we all see the bias and there is nothing we can do about it. They change the rules each week to fit who they want in. Essentially, this is worse than the faceless BCS model because someone is doing your team dirty and there's not a thing you can do about it. It's a fair point, and I don't like, and we talked with Andrew Allegretta about this on Wednesday, I don't like how the committee seemingly picks and chooses what factors they want to use when comparing certain teams. Head-to-head is a big factor in some comparisons, while they completely ignore it in other ones. And margin of victory is a big deal for Utah, but it's not that big of a deal for Vanderbilt. Like they're inconsistent with it, and we've gotten to the point where we just know they're going to do what they want. The Alabama move this week shows you that they are going to do what they want. They wanted to make sure they didn't have to face the music if Alabama ended up losing to Georgia this weekend and BYU won, and they had to knock out somebody. They could not have it be Alabama, where they leave out the technical SEC regular season champ, because that is what Alabama is. They are the home team in the SEC championship game this Saturday against Georgia. They couldn't leave them out, so they arbitrarily moved them ahead of Notre Dame to make sure that if that scenario plays out, Alabama would be the last team in and not Notre Dame.
I'd be willing to bet a lot of money that even if Alabama loses this game, they're not going to get left out because they're the 1 seed in the SEC. And if they lose the game, you're saying the SEC runner-up who was the 1 seed gets left out?
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
And the Florida State game has to matter too, but they didn't want to have to explain that, why they left Alabama out. So they're putting Notre Dame on the chopping block. And if BYU wins, Notre Dame is going to fall out. And that makes honestly, I think the committee now has to be rooting for BYU to win, right? That makes their job so much easier because they don't have to explain Notre Dame and Miami.
Nope.
Because neither team.
That's what they're rooting for.
Right. That's what the committee wants, is they want
They're trying
BYU
to avoid the awkward
win
conversation.
because that makes things as simple for them as possible. Alabama loses. They slide back into that the last team in. BYU gets in. Texas Tech gets in. They knock out Notre Dame and Miami, and they don't have to explain why they had one over the other. That's what they're rooting for. We'll see if it ends up happening. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Thomas from Nashville, Thomas on a car phone says, not a lot of guys named Gary these days. Sorry, Jake. That's all I got today. The football season is over for me.
Buddy, we're getting to the good part, the good stuff.
Right. I mean,
this weekend is going to be chaotic, drama filled.
This is
I'm
going
gonna be
to be a
glued to my
fun weekend.
screen.
I'm excited for tonight even. I mean, we've got the AAC championship
Exactly.
game. That's a play-in game. You got the Sun Belt championship game. James Madison trying to put themselves in a spot where they could get into the playoffs. So
America's team, Kennesaw State, the Owls.
Right. You got Boise State, UNLV. You know, the UNLV has a chance. If things break their way, they could end up in the playoff. They're still an outside shot. So lots to look forward to this weekend. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll continue to get to your phones and talk college football. Coming up next, Dr. Locke just called in. We got to talk about that Ohio State-Indiana game a little bit more. 1 versus 2 in Indy. The Buckeyes have a chance to either separate themselves from the rest of the field, or Indiana could claim the number 1 spot in the college football playoff. Who would have thought you would ever say that? We'll talk about in football. Indiana could be the number 1 overall seed. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. Hope everybody's having a great start to their Friday. Fun weekend coming up. College football championship games, and we've got the tank ball going on in Cleveland. Titans and Browns. We'll get into that coming up at the top of the hour. Jay from Laverne on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, funny Trey hasn't called the past few days.
We're not talking about Titans. That's why.
I know. I was realizing we have not had Trey on. He was calling in about Vanderbilt earlier this week, too. Maybe we need a wellness check on Trey. If he's listening, give us a call. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. I'm sure everyone out there would love to hear from Trey. This big game coming up tomorrow, our college football game of the week, 94.9 The Fan, 7 p.m. tomorrow night. Indiana, Ohio State in Indianapolis. And Indiana is undefeated. They are 12-0. I don't see much of a path for them to win this game. Ohio State has been dominating everybody that they've played. But I said it earlier, I've doubted Kurt Cignetti at my own peril multiple times. That is a guy who Google him, he wins, as he said. If they win this game, they are going to be the number 1 overall seed in the college football playoff. Again, I think it's unlikely that the Hoosiers are able to win the game tomorrow with all the talent that Ohio State has, but it is crazy to say that the Indiana Hoosiers are 60 minutes away from being the number 1 overall seed in the college football playoff. It just shows you in this era of college football that you can turn things around quickly. I mean, what was Indiana the year before Cignetti showed up? 2-10, something like that?
Something like that. Not good. That's for sure.
I mean, they go 11-1 last year, and everybody kind of brushed it off as, oh, maybe it's a flash in the pan. They went 11-1. The only good team they played was Ohio State, and they lost, and then they lost to Notre Dame in the playoff. But then they come back and they go 12-0 the next year. They went 3-9 2 years ago. Their only wins were against Indiana State, Akron, and Wisconsin. That's it. And 2 years later, they have one game to be the number 1 overall seed in the college football playoff. Unbelievable what Kurt Cignetti has been able to do. And the fact that he's sticking around, and with all the jobs that opened up this offseason, that he didn't cash in on the paycheck that could have been out there somewhere else. And I know he got paid at Indiana, but I respect Kurt Cignetti for building something there at Indiana, because that's not a school that is typically going to give you the resources to do what he's doing at this level in the Big Ten. So all respect for Kurt Cignetti. I don't think they're going to win tomorrow night, but to be able to talk about the Hoosiers going, they're a luck to get a bye in the college football playoff, right? Like, even if they get blown out tomorrow night, I don't see them falling past 4, right, Parker?
No, the Big Ten runner-up will not be
right. That's what
outside.
they're going to. I think what it probably ends up being is they put Ohio State at 1 if they win, Georgia, who would move up to 2 if they win, and then Indiana would go to 3. I think that sounds about right. But it's crazy to talk about this, because all these schools that are popping up, Vanderbilt would be included in one of them. They were 2-10 2 years ago. Now they're 10-2. College football is for everybody now, not just the elites. And I know the elites are probably still the only teams that are going to win national championships. It's not like we're going to start seeing Syracuse and Wake Forest winning national championships, but everybody seems to have a shot these days. And Kurt Cignetti in Indiana obviously are the main example of that, with a 23-2 record since he arrived in Bloomington. Unbelievable.
Well, I think the term blue blood has become less and less important in college football, because if Indiana can figure it out, and which they figured out their NIL pool and all of that, any team can become this national championship contender. So the term blue blood doesn't mean as much.
Yeah.
Ole Miss, I still think if Lane Kiffin would have stayed, I absolutely believe they would have been a contender. And it's Ole Miss. They've never even played in an SEC championship game. So I think that term has become less and less important. But if you figure out the NIL part of it, you figure out how to strategically look for players that are going to help your team, instead of taking the Florida State route and you just play Russian roulette with the portal.
Right.
If you're able to figure that stuff out, then you can you could catapult yourself into this national spotlight.
And Texas Tech is another example of this. I mean,
100%.
Texas Tech, they said, you know what, we want to be good at football. And they had some rich boosters who said, we're going to give you money to go buy a roster. And there they are. They're 11-1. And they are a win tomorrow away from likely getting a bye in the college football playoff, right? Like they're in there right now at number 4. I think that's probably where they end up if they win this game.
That's what I'm interested to see. Because if Alabama wins this football game and they're the 1 seed in the SEC and they win it, that team to me and in the committee's eyes probably is going to get a bye. So that would be Ohio State, Alabama, Indiana. Well, what does that leave with Georgia, who is the runner-up in the SEC? And where does that leave Texas Tech? Which of those 2 teams would get the bye? That's what I'm interested to see if that were to play out.
That's going to be an interesting conversation for this college football playoff committee, because getting that bye is almost as important as getting in, right? For some of these teams, you get a week off, especially the teams that are playing in their conference championships games, because they have to play that 13th game. Getting a bye would be massive. Would Alabama pass Texas Tech with a win? I would argue yes. But then again, they may not even have to pass Texas Tech. You could have Texas Tech move up to 3. Alabama would go to 4. I think Alabama would be above Oregon. They'd be above Ole Miss. They'd be above Texas A&M. Yeah, so I think you're playing for a bye in Atlanta. You're playing for the number 1 seed in Indianapolis. Texas Tech with a win, I think the only way that they would fall out of those top 4 is if Alabama beats Georgia on like a last-second field goal or something like that, where it's so close that you can't drop Georgia more than 1 spot. But Alabama has to be in there too because they won the game. So Texas Tech is hoping for a decisive win one way or the other in Atlanta. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We're going through conference championship weekend as we've got some big games tonight and tomorrow. Talking about this Big Ten championship game, and we've said all week, if you're a Vanderbilt fan, that's the game you're locked in on. We'll talk about that more coming up next. Jake Lyman and Parker Kelly alongside you on your Friday morning. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on your Friday. Been a fun show so far. Max Herz was with us in the first hour talking Preds, so make sure if you missed that one, go back and listen to it on the podcast. Max, always great and good stuff as the Preds have now won 4 out of 5. We've been talking college football as we've got conference championship weekend coming up. Couple of games tonight and lots tomorrow that will help decide the final 12-team college football playoff bracket. But also the Heisman race is up in the air. And right now, I think if the season ended at this exact moment and no more games were taken under consideration, I think Diego Pavia would win the Heisman. I mean, that seems to be the way things are trending. I saw the On3 poll had Pavia at the top. Joe Rexroad, who conducts the athletic poll for the Heisman, said that Pavia was not winning, but he had the most first place votes. And I think that's going to continue to trend towards Diego as more people look at the full body of work of his season. But the season is not over right now. And there is a big game tomorrow in Indianapolis with probably the other two realistic contenders for the Heisman Trophy in Julian Sayin and Fernando Mendoza. Now, Sayin has had a great season and statistically has been phenomenal. But I struggle to see the voters giving him all the credit and sending him home with the Heisman Trophy based on the talent that is around him. I struggle to see it. That doesn't mean it's not possible. And if he goes out and drops 5 touchdowns on Indiana tomorrow, he might win the trophy. But I think it's between Pavia and Mendoza. And if you are a Vanderbilt fan who wants to see Diego Pavia hoist the Heisman Trophy, you are rooting for Ohio State to win in a defensive struggle tomorrow night. That is what you want. You want this to end 13-10 Ohio State. Neither quarterback looks all that good, and I think Diego Pavia would cruise to a Heisman Trophy win next weekend.
Yeah, I think Joe's brought up a really good point about Julian Sayin not even being the best player on his team, which he's not. He's really good. I've seen him play a lot this year.
Right.
He's really good. But I do think that Vanderbilt has Diego Pavia has elevated Vanderbilt to this level. Fernando Mendoza has elevated Indiana to this level. They had Curtis Rourke, who was really good last year, but still, we saw what happened when Indiana got in the playoff and they got smacked in the mouth by Notre Dame. This Indiana team's not gotten smacked in the mouth by anybody.
No.
And that's a huge part in part two, Fernando Mendoza. So I think those are your two front runners. Jeremiah Love, I'd throw in the conversation as well. I wouldn't vote him to win, but he should be there. And of course, Sayin has a discussion point as well, but it should be between Mendoza and Pavia.
Yeah, if Sayin won it, and again, he has the opportunity tomorrow to put the world on notice and basically say, this is my trophy. But if he wins it, that's basically the voters telling you that the quarterback on the best team is going to win it unless somebody puts up otherworldly numbers. Like you look back when Jaden Daniels won it a couple of years ago. That team went 9-3. That was not a great LSU team, but his numbers were so undeniable that they had to give him the Heisman Trophy. But this year, Diego Pavia's had an awesome season. Over 4,000 yards, passing and rushing. He's got 36 touchdowns that he's responsible for. It's been a great season, but those aren't otherworldly Heisman numbers. Like when Johnny Manziel won it, he had 21 rushing touchdowns as a freshman. I think Lamar Jackson had 21 rushing touchdowns when he won it. So you don't have anybody with those insane numbers that jump off the page and you say, that's your Heisman Trophy winner. And if the voters were just to give it to the quarterback on the best team, just because they're like, it's kind of close, let's just give it to Ohio State because they're 13-0. I wouldn't like that. I think you got to give it to the player who is having the largest impact on his team and the most outstanding college football player. It can't be Julian Sayin when you would look at that team play for the Buckeyes and say, man, you've got probably the two best wide receivers in all of college football on either side of him. Diego Pavia, I like Trey Richardson, I like Junior Sherrill. They're not Jeremiah Smith and Cornell Tate. Diego Pavia elevates that team. He has been the most outstanding player in college football. And again, not having a chance in the SEC championship game to put one last statement on paper for the voters, it will hurt him. But I still don't think you can give it to Julian Sayin. If Ohio State wins tomorrow night, Diego Pavia should be the Heisman Trophy winner.
And I've had people tell me his numbers are not up there with him. And I'm like, yeah, they are. He has more passing yards than both of them.
He has over 1,000 more yards if you add together, or right around 1,000 more yards if you add together passing and rushing.
Yep. And he's top 8 in completion percentage. He's top 12 in touchdowns. Mendoza and Sayin have more. But if you factor in the rushing as well, it's Pavia is statistically better.
Yeah, Mendoza is responsible for 38 touchdowns. Pavia is 36, and I believe Sayin is 32 or 30, somewhere around there. So they're all very close statistically. Pavia does have a little edge when it comes to yardage. He's run for over 800 yards on the ground. I don't see how you don't give it to Diego Pavia. There isn't a historic season. And I think if you look back and you talk about this Heisman race, it may go down as one of the, I don't want to use the word underwhelming, but statistically one of the,
there's not a clear-cut answer.
Right. It's not going to be one of those Heisman seasons you look back on and say, oh my goodness, Joe Burrow in 2019 and Marcus Mariota in 2014. Like those seasons where it's like you look at those players and you say, that dude could not be stopped anytime he stepped on the field on Saturday. And Diego Pavia has been great. Fernando Mendoza has been great. Julian Sayin has been great. But this is a year where it doesn't take quite as much to win the Heisman. And Diego Pavia, out of those three, has pretty clearly been the best player. We'll see what happens tomorrow night. I think Ohio State's going to win. If Fernando Mendoza leads Indiana to a win over the Buckeyes, it may be tough for Pavia to outshine that with Mendoza getting that last statement to the voters. But I don't think that's going to happen. And I really think 8 days from now, Diego Pavia is going to be a Heisman winner. I really do. I think Vanderbilt is going to get a Heisman Trophy, which, again, go back in time 2 years. That is a crazy thing to say. But to have Vanderbilt have the Heisman winner and the number one quarterback recruit in the country coming in just shows you the turnaround. But I don't see how it's not Pavia as long as Mendoza doesn't completely flip it on its head tomorrow night.
Yeah, and even Jeremiah Love, like Kejuan Lacey from Ole Miss, has some better numbers than Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love has some better numbers than Kejuan Lacey. So, like, there's a lot of nebulous with this one. But the two that really stand out above the rest are Pavia and Mendoza. And this is no bias.
Yeah, and I'd like to see all four of those guys get invited to New York. I think it should be Pavia, Mendoza, Sayin, and Love. All four guys should get invites to New York. But you look at the stats, and you see the odds movement, and I think it shows you that Diego Pavia was being undervalued for a very long time. And it's like people are just starting to look and say, oh, man, who out of these guys has had the best statistical season? And people are shocked to find out it's Diego Pavia, because I think the story, even since the Alabama game, has been, oh, this is this super loud, rambunctious guy. He's a good player. He's not a great player, but he does the right things and he helps Vanderbilt. And then it's like you look at his November numbers and it's just this ridiculous statistical month over these last 4 games. And it's put him right at the top of the odds boards. We'll see how it plays out. But tomorrow night, if you're a Vanderbilt fan and you're looking for something to root for, I know the college football playoff is slim and none, and Slim is hopping in a taxi. But if you're looking for the Heisman race, I think you're rooting for Ohio State and you're rooting for a low-scoring game in Indianapolis tomorrow. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will have more college football talk later on in the show. We're going to do our Monday headlines at 11:30. I realized, Parker, when I was prepping for the show, I haven't done a Friday show in at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks, with Thanksgiving. And then 2 weeks ago, we had our Education Day game for Vandy women's basketball over at Memorial. So it's been a while. We will do our Monday headlines coming up at 11:30. We'll do one for the Titans and Browns, and we'll do one for college football. Speaking of the Titans and Browns, let's talk about it coming up next. 2 teams with a combined 4 wins, but you've got Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders. And I think the biggest story of the week is, does Myles Garrett get 4 sacks and break the single-season sack record? We'll talk all about all of that coming up in the final hour of the show. Jake Lyman and Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final hour on this Friday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios. Home with a $99 yearly Beehive membership with a buzz is always about great service. Last time we can hear that intro and have it be at least not completely false. 10-2 is an SEC school you're in. Selections haven't come out yet, but not looking good that all the 10-win teams out of the SEC are going to get in. We're going to talk some Titans here in just a second, but let's start the hour by going to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Edward is on the line. Edward, thanks for calling. What you got for us?
Talking about me?
Yeah.
So I just want to know y'all's opinion. I know I heard on the radio that y'all think Ohio State is going to win this Saturday championship. I want to hear confirmation from everybody. Do y'all think Ohio State is going to beat Indiana?
Yes.
How confident y'all, sir? Because I heard Sames is doing good. He's doing amazing. Tate is doing good, and all the wide receiver football team of Ohio State is doing better than ever. So, what y'all think about our opponent of Ohio State going to be us? What do y'all think about it?
Yeah, thanks for the call. Indiana is a good team, and this is going to be the toughest test that Ohio State has faced this year. I mean, they played Texas to start the season at home. They really haven't been tested all that much since then. Yeah, they played Michigan, and they took care of business, got the monkey off their back. But Indiana's not going to be easy tomorrow night. Ohio State going to have to play well if they're going to win. But, I mean, Ohio State's the more talented team, and that's why they're favored in the game. We will get back to the college football championship weekend in our Monday headlines at the bottom of the hour. But let's talk some Titans here. Have not gotten into the two-tone blue yet today. They are getting ready to take on the Browns coming up on Sunday. 1-11 Titans, 3-9 Cleveland Browns. So neither team playing all that well, but it is at least an intriguing matchup because of the Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders matchup. Those two guys have been coached by the same coach. Who was talking with Teron Davenport about that. Make sure you read his story about that matchup between Ward and Sanders coming out on ESPN.com. Cam Ward struggled last week. That was maybe his worst game of his rookie season. They couldn't move the ball downfield. He never threw the ball beyond 20 yards down the field. Just inconsistencies, lots of 3-and-outs. I'd love to see a bounce back game from him this weekend. And it's not going to be easy with Myles Garrett on the other side. But Cam Ward has performed his best against some good defenses. You look back at the Broncos game. I thought, yeah, the stats wouldn't back it up, but I thought that was one of the better games Cam Ward has played right off the bat in week 1. He was good against the Texans a couple of weeks ago at home. He was good against the Seahawks. It'd be nice to see the progress tick back up in the right direction again. He had taken steps forward back-to-back weeks coming off the bye, and then obviously a big step back last week. This is a big one for him. You got Myles Garrett, who's going to be chasing him down all day, trying to break that single-season sack record. But Cam Ward has played well against good defenses. Chance on the road here for the first time in, a month and a half, basically, to regain some confidence heading down the stretch in his rookie season.
Yeah, and I think TD said something on Thursday that I agreed with, that, we're getting Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. I would not be surprised if Shedeur Sanders had the better day, but he's also not having to play against Myles Garrett and some of those guys on the defense that have caused a lot of problems for other teams. Now, the Browns offense isn't worth much, but who do the Titans have? So it's going to be a really, really tough game for Cam Ward, I think, especially playing on the road in cold weather. Nobody likes playing in Cleveland, let's be honest.
Yeah.
The defense is tough, so I wouldn't be surprised if Cam Ward statistically had another bad performance like he did against Jacksonville. Now, as a fan, I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but that's just my gut feeling.
Yeah, I really don't think either of these quarterbacks are going to have a whole lot of highlights. I'd just like to see some sustained drives from this Titans offense. Sacks are going to make that difficult, and I heard Robbie and Joe setting their over-under on how many sacks Myles Garrett's going to have. I believe Joe said 2.5, and he'd take the over. I think he's going to break the record. Like, he's already had a game with 5 sacks this year, a game that they lost, I believe, to the Patriots. But he had 5 sacks in a game already this year. If he gets to 3 and it's still early fourth quarter, somewhere in there, he's going to find a way to get that fourth and break the record on Sunday. So wouldn't shock me if that happened. But the Titans, you're not going to be able to completely stop Myles Garrett. He is that good of a player. You have to make his impact on the game as minimal as possible, whether that's chipping him, whether that's helping with the tight ends, whether that's rolling Cam Ward away from him. You have to find a way to limit his impact on the game and find a way to sustain some drives. No penalties, no self-inflicted wounds. Stay ahead of the sticks. The running game at least looked like it took a step forward last week. Early on, Tony Pollard looked a little bit more explosive than we've seen. The offensive line was opening some holes. I'd love to see the offense. I'm not asking them to go put up 24 points like they did against the Seahawks. I don't know if that's possible. And a lot of those points against the Seahawks came when they were down by 20 points. You got to go out there and you got to sustain some drives, find some rhythm. And do I think they're going to win the game? No. But out of the games you got left, this is certainly one of the more winnable ones for the Titans.
No, it is. It's one of the few. I'd say this one and the Saints game are probably their best chance
That's pretty much it.
Getting another win. And honestly, I think the Titans could use another win just for morale, so we don't have to sit here talking about the same thing every single weekend like we've already been doing. But man, hopefully I'll be able to watch the entire game on Sunday, because last week I couldn't do it.
No,
I couldn't force myself to do it.
It is crazy. Just for morale, they do need another win. I mean, they haven't won in 2 months now since the Cardinals game. And if the Cardinals don't give that game away, we are having discussions about the Titans as maybe the worst team in NFL history. I mean, if Amani DiMarcado carries that ball across the goal line, the Titans are 0-12. And obviously, the butterfly effect, you don't know what could have happened if the Titans lose that game. Maybe they find a way to win another. I doubt it. If that game does not completely go on its head and flips in the fourth quarter with all of the craziness that happened there, the interception that got fumbled into the end zone, all that, then the Titans are likely 0-12, and we are having conversations about whether they are the worst team in NFL history. So another win, at the very least, I think is important for morale and just the historical view of how this team is seen, because it has been horrible. And you're right. I'd love to have a win to talk about. And it's not going to happen against the Niners. It's not going to happen against the Chiefs. I doubt it's going to happen against the Jaguars. You got this one. You got the Saints one. The Titans, for the young players who need a little bit of a jolt and need to show that there's a proof of concept of actual growth for this team, that they can look at and say, we won a football game that was not completely handed to us by the Cardinals. I think that's important for this young core. And guess what? You win one more game, there's still a very high likelihood that you get the number 1 overall pick.
I talked to Terry McCormick the other day, and he said that this is the worst Titans team. I think this was his exact words. The Charlie Whitehurst-led Titans team would beat this Titans team. And that I just sunk into my chair.
I think this is the worst Titans team I've ever seen. And they've got 5 more weeks to prove me wrong. But I think this is the worst Titans team I've ever seen. Are they the worst team in NFL history? I don't think so. I think there's more talent on this team than the 0-16 Lions or those Browns teams that went 1-31 over 2 years. I think the Titans are not the worst team in NFL history. But if they hadn't been handed that Cardinals game, I think there would be conversations about it. People are kind of ignoring how historically bad this team is because there is a 1 in the win column. There would be national talks about how bad this team is if the Titans were 0-12 right now. And one more win, at the very least, I hope, will put this team in a spot where the young players can take a little bit of confidence moving forward and head into the offseason. You can try and revamp this roster with your cap space, your draft picks, and see what you can do in year 2 under Cam Ward with the new head coach. But I think they do need one more win. And again, if you win a game, 2-15 still likely gets you the number 1 overall pick. That would require the other 3 teams with 2 wins to all lose out too, or one of them to lose out completely. So we will see. But the Titans and Browns coming up on Sunday. I do have a little bit of an optimistic take for Sunday for the Titans. And we can do that coming up next. We're also going to get into our Monday headlines coming up at the bottom of the hour. Parker, I've got one that I think is great for the Titans and Browns game for my Monday headlines.
Oh, let's hear
I'm
it.
excited for this one. We'll get to it coming up at 11:30, but coming up next, the Titans defense has shown some flashes this year that they can be an impactful unit. They can make some plays. They can force some turnovers. We could see a lot of that on Sunday. We'll talk about it next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, getting ready for Titans and Browns on Sunday. Titans 1-11. They've lost 7 straight. Rare opportunity for a win for the Tennessee Titans if they can knock off Myles Garrett and the Cleveland Browns. We were talking about how this Titans team isn't being talked about nationally as one of the worst teams in NFL history. But if that Cardinals gift hadn't happened, They probably would be. Wes from Hermitage does make a good point on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. He says, when your team gets put on a graphic compared to the late, great Dayton Triangles, that's a pretty telltale sign that your team is close to the worst ever. It's a very good point from Wes. And this team is much closer than I think you'd like to admit to one of the worst teams in NFL history. Another win would at the very least pull them out of that cellar, even though it still may be the worst team in Titans history. Sunday, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward is going to be the storyline that is pushed by everybody. I already saw a Fox Sports graphic this morning. Which quarterback is going to have the better career between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders? That's going to be the entire story this weekend around this game. And I had a thought yesterday about Shedeur Sanders in this game. And maybe this is wishful thinking and being optimistic, looking at the Titans. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to have multiple massive mistakes in this game. Shedeur, personality-wise, at least from what he's put out there, is a guy who wants to prove himself, right? Like Parker, he's come out here and said like he wants to put everybody on notice. He's got the chip on his shoulder. And you would think the chip would never be larger than facing the guy who went number 1 overall in this draft class this year. And Shedeur trying to prove that he's better and that he should have been taken way higher than he was. I think he's going to be pressing. I think Denard Wilson is going to throw a lot at him. I would not be shocked if we see at least 2 turnovers and 2 horrible sacks from Shedeur Sanders in this game.
Could happen. He hasn't exactly looked like a superstar compared to what Josina Anderson may think. But,
maybe he gets an against all odds third down.
Yeah. Conversion. A little check down to Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy makes some people miss, I don't know. I don't think that's super hot. I think that could happen.
I think the mental aspect of this is going to end up costing Shedeur Sanders. I think he's going to go in thinking this is a game that he has to go out and prove himself that he's better than Cam Ward, and the league messed up letting him fall to the 5th round. And that's going to lead to him trying to do too much. And I hope Cam Ward isn't doing the same thing. Cam Ward's personality, I don't think that's going to be at the forefront of his mind. I'm not him, so I don't know. But at least from what we've seen from these two guys, I don't think Cam Ward is going out there on Sunday trying to prove anything. I don't think he's going out there saying, I have to play better. I have to beat Shedeur because I have to prove I was worthy of the number 1 overall pick. I don't think that's at the top of his mind. I think that is going through Shedeur's mind on the other side.
100%, because Cam Ward knows that he's better between the two of them, or else he wouldn't have been picked first overall. The organization hasn't wavered. They think he's the guy. I think he's the guy. A lot of people think he's the guy. The only people that don't are people like Trey who don't actually watch him. So, sorry, Trey. That was mean. Mean. I'm so sorry.
We haven't gotten our wellness check on Trey.
We're trying to be optimistic today, and I just took a shot at Trey, and he's not even here to defend himself.
I know.
Oh, I'm sorry, Trey. I don't think Cam Ward's worried about it. He's not worried about the outside noise. He just wants to play football, and I do think Shedeur is going to use that chip on his shoulder, and he's going to use that in this game for sure.
Now, I think the Browns are going to do as much as they can to make this a game where you don't have to rely on Shedeur that much, right? Like I think they're going to try and take it out of his hands as much as possible. For Kevin Stefanski, he knows that if Shedeur throws the ball more than 25 times in this game, it probably did not go well for his team. So they're going to try and limit his impact on the game. But it's going through my mind, and I can just see it already of Jeffrey Simmons gets some pressure. They flush Shedeur Sanders out of the pocket. And instead of just being smart and dirting it or trying to run and get a couple of yards, he forces the ball into traffic, trying to make some ridiculous throw on the run, ends up being a pick 6 or something like that. I can see it already. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to make some pretty crippling mistakes in this game for the Browns. Now, does that mean the Titans win? No, because the Titans, they don't always take advantage of the mistakes from the other team. You look back at that Chargers game. Titans got a pick 6 early. They got a punt return touchdown. You would have thought, man, if the offense can do anything, they should win this game. Well, they scored 6 points, and that was it, and they lost. So just because Shedeur has some mistakes doesn't mean the Titans are going to win, but I do think Shedeur Sanders is going to have a rough day on Sunday. I think this Titans defense is going to take advantage of that chip on his shoulder, that he's going to try and force some things, and it's going to lead to some big mistakes. On our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, Lenny says, just because you're the number one pick does not make you better. Lenny, Shedeur fell to the 5th round. Like, in terms of what the NFL thinks of these players, yes, Cam Ward was the better prospect. Does that mean he's going to be the better player? I don't know. I would think so. I think Cam Ward will end up having a better NFL career than Shedeur Sanders. But, you know, being the number one pick versus a guy who fell to the 5th round, the NFL told you who they thought was a better prospect. Justin from Greenbrier says, if there was ever a game for Latham to push himself, it's this one. He needs to play with fire from whistle to whistle. It's a good point. We have talked a lot about J.C. Latham this week, coming off another bad game where, and I'm not an offensive line film analyst. I can't analyze the all 22 and tell you about J.C. Latham's pass sets and his techniques. I have to rely on other people for that. But the lowlights are pretty obvious to see of him just getting beat by these elite pass rushers. And there is no more elite pass rusher than Myles Garrett. Justin's right that J.C. Latham, if he is going to start to figure it out, come out and play with some passion this week. Of everybody's expecting Myles Garrett to set records this weekend. I mean, Corey Curtis was bringing up the 7 sacks in a single game record for Myles Garrett. Take that stuff personally if you're J.C. Latham. That basically everybody's saying that Myles Garrett, who is 4 sacks away from breaking the single season pass record, might do it this weekend. That's disrespectful. It is to this Titans offensive line, but is it valid? Probably, with the way that Myles Garrett has played and the way that this Titans offensive line is played. So, yeah, it's disrespectful to say Myles Garrett might get 4 sacks and break the single season pass record this weekend, but it's also very realistic considering what we've seen from those two parties.
Myles Garrett has 19 sacks this year, which leads the league. The next closest person is Brian Burns of the Giants
with what,
13.
13, okay.
So there's a 6 sack gap in between them.
Yeah, no, Myles Garrett is an elite player. We've talked about it all week. And the Titans offensive line, if you had to look at the way they've been playing, I mean, Josh Hines-Allen ate their lunch on Sunday. And Josh Hines-Allen is a really good player. He's not Myles Garrett. So listen to this stuff if you're J.C. Latham and you're this offensive line of everybody basically predicting that Joe Rexrode setting the over-under on sacks for Myles Garrett at 2.5. It's disrespectful.
That's fair, though.
It is,
very
but it's
fair.
fair. Like, I'm not saying it's wrong to say this stuff, but you should take this stuff personally, that basically everybody expects you to just get whooped this weekend by Myles Garrett. Because he whips everybody. He took Trent Williams behind the woodshed last weekend. So take it personally, and that doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. Pretty much no one holds Myles Garrett quiet for an entire game, but go out there and play like your job depends on it.
And Myles Garrett undressed the Patriots offensive line,
right?
Even though the Patriots won the game. I mean, 5 sacks in a game. He has 19 sacks in 12 games. How many? He's 3.5 away from the record, from tying the single season record.
3.5 away.
He's gonna.
I mean, he's going to break the record. I don't think that, barring injury, that's not a question at this point. I mean, he's got 5 games to get 3.5 sacks to tie it, 5 games to get 4 sacks. He's averaging over 1.5 sacks per game right now.
He has a game with 5 sacks, 4 sacks, 3 sacks, and 2. That is unbelievable.
And it is crazy to say that he had 5 sacks in a game they lost. Right?
32-13.
I heard Joe and Robbie talking this morning about how a lot of the times for these teams that have the elite pass rushers that get these 20 sack seasons, it's because the team is really good and the opponent is in these obvious passing situations at the end of games where you can just pin your ears back and go get the quarterback. That's not the case. They have 3 wins this season.
Is there another case for defensive player of the year for anybody else?
No. I mean, if he breaks the sack record, it's 100% him.
Yeah, I don't think there's even a competition.
I think even if his season ended today, he'd have a good case to be the defensive player of the year. He is that good. So I want this Titans offensive line, take it personally that everybody's expecting Myles Garrett to get 3+ sacks on you this weekend. Take it personally and at least make it not a complete disaster on the field on Sunday. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jay from Laverne says, Sanders going to come in here and beat our ass. Sanders was better and had no line in Colorado and still got sacked a few times and threw that ball like it was nothing.
Gosh. Here we go. Jake, if the Browns win this game on Sunday, we're going to have to come in here on Monday holding hands and getting through it together.
Yeah, I know.
Because
it's going to be rough.
It is going to be.
Maybe that's why Trey hasn't called in. He's just channeling all of his energy for Monday's
that
call.
Monday call, if the Browns win this game.
Yeah. I am not prepared for that. It's pretty obvious. Like at the end of last season, when the Titans got the number 1 pick, I hadn't really watched in depth Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, but I went back and did it once the Titans got the number 1 pick because I figured they'd be in on a quarterback. And if you watch a couple full games of both those guys in college, it's very obvious why Cam Ward went number 1 and Shedeur Sanders didn't. I mean, that's the talent, the ceiling is so much higher for Cam Ward. Is he going to reach that ceiling? I don't know. But Shedeur Sanders was not a better prospect than Cam Ward. Wes from Hermitage says points on Sunday will be at a premium. If the Titans want a chance to win this, they're absolutely going to have to kick some field goals on 4th down instead of trying to go for it. I know we all want to see them fighting for yards on 4th down, but I think a win this Sunday against this team can really help this team's morale. McCoy, take the points. That's a different take than we've gotten from most people. That was what Corey was saying the other day too. Take the points. I mean, this is a team that doesn't get a whole lot of points. 0376 says, wow, guys, Myles Garrett did not take Trent Williams anywhere. Brock got sacked 1 time. The rest of the game, Trent locked him down. So it can be done. I was mostly talking about the 1 rep.
There's also things called pressures too.
Well, right. And I was making the point of on that 1 rep, Myles Garrett took Trent Williams to school. Like that. Sure. Trent Williams is a great player. And if you're looking for a battle of, Godzilla versus King Kong, on the edge, that is Myles Garrett versus Trent Williams. But the 1 rep I'm talking about, Myles Garrett beat him pretty bad. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. It is time for our Monday headlines coming up next. What's going to happen this weekend in the Titans game and in championship weekend across college football? We'll talk about it next. You can get your Monday headlines in at 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. It is our first Friday show in December, so this was a
It's
good
appropriate
call.
now.
Yeah,
This is my first time ever playing this song on the airwaves.
Yeah, I'm not quite in the Christmas spirit yet, but this is helping me get there.
I was strategic about it.
Yeah, well done. I can't believe it's Christmas is under 3 weeks away.
I know it doesn't feel real.
It's sneaking up on me.
It doesn't even feel like we had Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's true. But we are here. It is conference championship weekend, which means we're into December, and excited to get into the Christmas spirit a little bit on this Friday show. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. It is 11:30 on a Friday, so it's time to try and predict what's going to happen this weekend. Spoiler alert, we are not very good at this, but we are going to do our best. It is our Monday headlines. This is a prediction of anything that you think is going to happen this weekend. We do one for the Titans game. We do one from the outside sports world, but I'm going to limit it to college football this weekend because it's championship weekend. So we're going to do one the Titans, one for college football. If you want to get yours in, you can on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. So I told you, Parker, I had a good one for the Titans game. And I don't know who's going to win. I'm not going to predict who's going to win the game, but I think there will be 0 offensive touchdowns scored in this game between the Titans and Browns on Sunday in Cleveland.
How many?
0.
0. Oh,
I think there will be 0 offensive touchdowns scored in this game, but there will be at least 1 defensive touchdown scored. I don't know who it's going to be by, but there will not be an offensive touchdown scored in this game.
We're going to get Wisconsin versus Iowa.
That's what I'm thinking it's going to be.
The weather's going to be disgusting. It's going to be cloudy. It's Cleveland.
Offenses are both bad. It's rookie quarterbacks. Both teams have an elite pass rusher. I mean, Myles Garrett, of course, is the elite of the elite, but Jeffrey Simmons is having a great year as well in the interior. I think it is going to be a slugfest, just an all-out rock fight. And no offensive touchdowns get scored in this game between the Titans and Browns. So all you Titans fans out there, you have that to look forward to on Sunday, if I'm right. Parker, what's your Monday headline for the Titans and Browns?
Okay, so I have a little bit of research to go along with this one.
All right, here we go.
Last time the Titans played Cleveland in Cleveland was 2023. Ryan Tannehill was the quarterback.
Yes.
Derrick Henry was still here. It's ironic because Myles Garrett had 3.5 sacks in that game against Andre Dillard.
Wow.
So it's also funny because Myles Garrett needs 3.5 sacks to tie the single season record set by Michael Strahan and TJ Watt. Myles Garrett will set the single season sack record.
You're going 4+
Actually,
sacks.
You know what? I'm going to say he ties it. I'm going to say he ties it.
3.5+
Not
sacks.
set. He'll tie it.
See, that was my first thought for Monday headlines. And I was like, you know what? We've been talking about that all week. I'm going to go even bigger and just say that neither team scores on offense. No offensive touchdowns. We might get some field goals, but it's going to be cold. These offenses are horrible. We're both going defensive for our Monday headlines for the Titans. All right, championship weekend. What are we thinking for a Monday headline for college football? I'll let you go first here on this one, Parker.
That's tough because, to be honest, I'm stalling a little bit because I don't have a good answer.
Yeah, I can go first.
Okay,
go
for it.
We talked about it right off the top at 10 o'clock when we got into college football, that there is a chaos scenario where the ACC gets left out of the college football playoff altogether. And I'm going to say it happens. James Madison wins tonight over Troy, and then Duke beats Virginia tomorrow night. James Madison gets into the college football playoff. The ACC is left out completely.
No Miami.
No Miami. No.
So BYU would have to win in this instance, right?
No, I think the committee is going to stand by it, and they're going to put Notre Dame in over Miami.
Oh gosh.
I
Be
really
prepared
do.
for outrage.
It is going to be, I mean, the state of Florida and the college football playoff committee do not like each other. But I think that the committee, I've been thinking that if it got to the point where it's Notre Dame and Miami for one spot, that they would flip it and go to the Hurricanes. But the fact that they have not wavered on Notre Dame over Miami throughout all of their rankings makes me think that they are going to stick with it. I think the ACC gets left out completely, and the ACC throws a complete hissy fit on social media all week next week. All of the member institutions, the ACC as a whole, the commissioner, they are going to go crazy because Duke's going to win, knock out their conference champion, and then Miami is going to be the first team out.
I'm rooting for that to happen. I'm rooting for Duke to win, and I'm rooting for BYU to win as well because I want to see just pure chaos just go down on Selection Sunday.
I want to see the committee have to answer for their decisions. I don't want it to be easy on them. So
that's fair too.
I'm rooting for the committee to have to make tough decisions and actually give reasoning for it that makes sense. And I don't think we're going to get it, but I'm excited for Sunday because if that chaos scenario happens and they have to leave the ACC out, things are going to hit the fan.
We have breaking news.
Oh, we do.
Penn State just hired Iowa State's Matt Campbell to be their next head coach.
That's a good hire.
The search is over. That's what I was calling for. Well, honestly, this is what I said. If you're Penn State, you should be looking at Matt Campbell first. But instead, they waited for Jeff Brom to say no. They waited for Kalani Sitake to say no. Then they moved on to Matt Campbell. But they should have been starting with Matt Campbell to begin with. I think this is a good hire for them.
I like that hire for Penn State. You get an established guy. But I also wonder with them, is it an upgrade? Right? Like, and James Franklin has his flaws. I'm not like complete sunshine and rainbows on James Franklin just because he coaches at my alma mater now. James Franklin has his flaws, but Penn State, again, they fired James Franklin in order to try and win a national championship. What has Matt Campbell done at Iowa State that makes you believe that he's going to come into Penn State and take you to that next level?
Oh, I can tell you right now. Before Matt Campbell, they had 2 winning seasons in conference play, and they have had 8.
No, I know. And I think he's a good program builder, and I'm sure that he is going to keep Penn State towards the top of the Big Ten. But they fired Franklin because he couldn't win the big one. I don't know if Matt Campbell is that big of an upgrade. Like, you wanted to go get somebody who you could sell as he is going to be the one to take us to the promised land where James Franklin couldn't take us. I like the hire. I think Matt Campbell's a really good coach, and I think he is going to keep Penn State as a 9 or 10 win team every year. But is that enough?
No, and that's your problem when you're firing Franklin, because he was probably a top 8 to 10 coach in the sport. Matt Campbell's a very good head coach, but I don't know if he's going to be an upgrade. He's a good head coach. I don't know if it's going to work out how they hope it will, but he's a good head coach.
Breaking news, Matt Campbell of Iowa State is now the head coach at Penn State. So all of the big jobs have been filled now. Campbell finally ends a long search for Penn State with a lot of candidates who were rumored, and they bring in Iowa State's Matt Campbell, who he's been rumored for jobs for a long time and has never left Ames. Now he gets his chance in Happy Valley. 615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on that. We will also
I never gave my headline.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. What's your Monday headline?
Okay, so I'm going to go the G of 5 route. And I've been stewing on this game for a while because we have North Texas and we have Tulane, 2 really good teams in the American. North Texas has been fantastic on offense, but they don't have Eric Morris. Tulane is allowing John Sumrall to finish this out, and I don't think he's going to go out losing. So I think Tulane is going to win tonight.
There you go. So you've got the green wave in, which means if our 2 scenarios work out correctly, Tulane will be the 11 seed and James Madison will be the 12 seed in the college football playoff. 615-737-1025. We see your Monday headlines on the text line. There's a really funny one in here. We'll get to all of those. We'll wrap up the show on the other side and continue to react to the news. Matt Campbell going to be the next head coach at Penn State. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Final segment on this Friday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Chasing Big Joe coming up right after us. Been a fun show today. Big thanks to Max Herz for joining us in the first hour. That's always a great hour. If you're a Preds fan, go listen back to it. It's on our podcast. Max joined us for the full first hour talking about the Preds, who have won 4 out of their last 5. He's with us every Friday from 9 to 10. But it is time to wrap up the show. We gave our Monday headlines, and we got some good ones on the text line. Randy says Indiana and Ohio State quarterbacks both struggle to produce. Pavia moves to the top of the Heisman voting. I like that. I think that is very possible. Here's my favorite one from Steven from Hendersonville. Get ready for this, Parker. Myles Garrett is going to pick up Cam Ward like a little Nerf football and walk into the end zone while dragging J.C. Latham's useless body along for the ride.
Oh my gosh.
End with Garrett Gronk spiking Ward into the basement of the stadium.
How explicit.
Steven, I mean, yeah, a wordsmith, Steven from Hendersonville. Is it like, what was the, is it Monsters University where it's like they're playing football and like the big monster keeps picks up one other monster and just takes him to the end zone?
I don't know.
I'm showing my age here, but
I bet our 50-year-old listeners are not happy.
I'm sure that they don't know what I'm talking about, but that's kind of what I imagined when he said that. Is just Myles Garrett just picking up Cam Ward and stiff arming his way into the end zone. Wes from Hermitage says, I have 2 Monday headlines, one college, one NFL. In college, Vandy fans outraged after not making playoffs as Virginia, Bama, and BYU get smoked on championship weekend. That's a question that we haven't talked about a ton, Parker. Yes, the committee did protect Alabama by moving them ahead of Notre Dame. Therefore, a loss and a BYU win wouldn't 100% knock them out. But if Bama gets blitzed tomorrow in Atlanta and loses by like 30, which unlikely but possible, if Alabama just gets crushed by Georgia, do you think they put Notre Dame and Miami in?
I would be very, very upset if that did happen.
I mean, I get it.
I would be very upset.
You can't leave out the SEC runner-up, but if they have a chance to prove themselves and all they have to do is just keep it close to get in and they get blown out, they lost to Florida State. Like, that loss has to mean something too. I think it would be an interesting conversation if Alabama loses by like 20, 25 tomorrow. Don't think it's going to happen, but in West from Hermitage's world,
I got an idea that'll make Nick Frazier happy. Titans versus Vanderbilt in Puerto Rico. Winner gets in the
Titans get into the college football playoff if they win. We will not have
that. Was just a shot at Nick Frazier. I don't actually mean that.
Nick Frazier, we will not have the college versus NFL conversation again. But that would be fun. The 2 teams in Nashville traveling to Puerto Rico for some reason. Wes from Hermitage says his NFL headline is, regardless of only being down 3-0 at the half, the Titans lose 24-3 as the quote-unquote legendary quarterback. They start to question their quarterback's long-term future. So Wes from Hermitage, not high on the Titans this weekend. And Scott on our text line says, Monday headlines, Bama loses to Georgia, giving Vanderbilt a loss to 3-loss Alabama, and Vanderbilt drops completely out of the college football playoff rankings.
I mean, so honestly, if Vanderbilt, you can be mad about Vanderbilt's ranking, that's totally okay. But even if they were at 12, they'd still be on the outside.
No, I understand. And that's kind of the point I've tried to make this week is I understand the reasoning that Vanderbilt is being left out of the playoff. I'm not trying to put out there that they're getting completely screwed by the committee. Do I think there needs to be a better conversation about Notre Dame, Miami, and Vanderbilt as a trio of 10-2 teams? Yes, the committee should look closer at that trio, and I think Vanderbilt has an argument against those 2 teams.
And they haven't even been compared, which is crazy.
But if you look at the standings, there are too many teams that feel like they have an argument to get into the playoff, and somebody has to get left out. For Vanderbilt, they do not have the marquee top of the resume win that they can point to and say, that's why we should be in. And Tennessee's a really good win. And the committee's explanation for Tennessee not counting as a headline win for them is stupid. That basically, they beat them by too much, so therefore Tennessee was never good in the first place. It's stupid. Missouri is a decent win. LSU is a decent win. But it doesn't stack up to Oklahoma's win at Alabama, Alabama's win at Georgia. Like, those are wins that you can point to as those teams and say, we beat that team. we deserve to be in the playoff. And I understand that reasoning, but the committee has just done such a poor job of putting that forward when they make these rankings, of telling us why they think Vanderbilt is lower than these other teams.
Right, because they contradict themselves every week.
They
Because if
do.
they're talking about head-to-head, yeah, head-to-head matters, but you have Oklahoma ahead of Alabama because of head-to-head. Well, why isn't Miami ahead of Notre Dame?
Right.
And they boxed themselves in, if you remember, when they had Utah at like 12 and BYU was 11. Well, what happens if BYU loses another game? Do they go behind Utah? But when they beat them, so that it's just that type of stuff doesn't make sense. And I'm not arguing Vanderbilt's ranking or anything, but Alabama got moved ahead to 9 for winning against a 5-7 Auburn team. Vanderbilt emptied out Neyland Stadium in the fourth quarter, doesn't move up, but Tennessee gets kicked out completely. It doesn't make sense.
The inconsistency in why they are ranking teams where they are is frustrating. They are picking and choosing what factors matter based on who the teams are. Like Texas, 9-3. Apparently a 9-3 Texas is good enough to be compared to a 10-2 Vanderbilt, and they say the head-to-head matters there. Sure, if that's the argument you want to make, then you can put 9-3
and Texas, despite losing to 4-8 Florida, does have better wins.
Yeah.
They beat Oklahoma. They beat
Texas
Texas
A&M.
A&M.
Yeah, sure. But you're saying that a 9-3 Texas can be compared to a 10-2 Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt loses on the head-to-head. That's why you have Texas 13 and Vanderbilt 14. Notre Dame and Miami are both 10-2. I don't get how they can say we're not comparing those teams. So the head-to-head doesn't come into factor. Compare the teams. Compare them. And if you still want to say that the bad losses for Miami outweighs the head-to-head result on the field, then tell us that. But don't do the cop-out of they're in different circles. We're not comparing these two teams.
Hunter Yurachek would have been much better if he would have just said, it was a committee decision to bump Alabama ahead of Notre Dame versus saying, well, they got a win on the road in Jordan-Hare and they were up 17-7. Well, they were also tied at 20 at one point too. They left that part out. So they would have just been better off saying, you know what? We just decided to do it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
The committee, that's the frustrating part. And Craig makes a good point on the text line. He says, Miami has 2 bad losses. Yes, head-to-head matters, but it's not the end-all be-all. That's what they should say, right? Like the committee needs to say, if they are going to put Notre Dame in and leave Miami out, say that you think the overall body of work for Notre Dame outweighs Miami's head-to-head win. Don't tell us that you're not comparing them. That's the stupidest thing that I've heard them. Actually, no, they've said a lot of stupid things. Carson Beck's passing yardage being used as a reason to move Miami up is the stupidest thing they've said.
Yeah, and well, they look good on offense. I don't care about your eyeball test. I really don't even care about my eyeball test. What do they do on the field to deserve to be in? That's what I care about.
I want like a bloopers reel with the God. What's the music? The
oh yeah.
I want that under all of the comments from Yurachek and the Baylor guy before he stepped down.
I don't know why they thought it was a good decision to go from Mac Rhodes to Hunter. There wasn't anybody better out there.
I want Mac Rhodes and Hunter Yurachek, all of their lowlights from this year, explaining their decisions with that underneath it.
Hunter is admitted to not being the smartest person out there.
And you can end it with Hunter Yurachek's 6'7".
Oh my gosh.
He threw in there.
So my wife saw that clip and she doesn't watch college football. She watched that clip and was like, oh my gosh.
It just shows you how unserious this whole thing is. And Sunday, I cannot wait to come in on Monday and talk college football because I think there's going to be a ton that comes out of that selection show and the explanations that they give. I'm just hoping that we don't have to deal with the onslaught of Shedeur over Cam stuff. We'll see what happens on Sunday. Trey, hope you're doing well. Again, I think
miss you, buddy.
I think Trey's charging up for that call on Monday if Shedeur beats Cam on Sunday. Going to be a fun weekend. Hope everybody has a great weekend out there. We'll be back with you at 9 a.m. on Monday, talking Titans, talking college football playoff, as we will have a bracket the next time we speak. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next. Keep it tuned right here on 102.5 The Game.